Have you ever noticed how the moment someone starts giving you less attention, your mind suddenly wants to give them more? You tell yourself that one more message will fix everything. One more kind act will make them realize your value. One more chance will change their heart. But this is the very trap that steals your peace. The strange truth is that people often value what they must earn, not what is freely placed into their hands. The harder you try to prove your worth to someone who is already pulling away, the less they feel the need to respect it. This is not because you are weak. It is because human nature follows patterns that have existed for centuries. The more desperate a person becomes, the less mysterious they appear. And when mystery disappears, attention often follows it out the door. Most people believe love grows from endless effort. They think that if they become more patient, more understanding, more available, they will finally receive the care they deserve. But Machiavelli observed something very different about human behavior. He understood that people rarely appreciate what asks nothing in return. They often chase what seems difficult to reach and ignore what is always waiting for them. This is why many intelligent people lose themselves while trying to keep someone who has already stopped choosing them. Imagine holding water tightly in your hand. The harder you squeeze, the faster it escapes through your fingers. Relationships can work the same way. When fear controls your actions, every decision pushes the other person further away. You begin checking your phone every few minutes. You replay conversations again and again. You wonder if you said something wrong. Soon your happiness depends on another person's attention instead of your own character. Without realizing it, you hand them control over your emotions. This is the mistake that destroys confidence more than rejection itself. Rejection hurts for a moment. Chasing someone who is no longer investing in you hurts every single day. Every unanswered message becomes a question about your value. Every excuse becomes another reason to doubt yourself. Slowly, you stop living your own life because you are too busy trying to enter someone else's priorities. Machiavelli never taught people to beg for acceptance. He taught them to understand power. And the greatest power is not forcing someone to stay. It is refusing to lose yourself while they decide whether you are worth their time. A person who remains calm when ignored becomes difficult to manipulate. A person who keeps building their own life becomes impossible to control. That is why silence often speaks louder than endless explanation. Today, you will discover why chasing attention is one of the costliest mistakes you can make. You will learn how human psychology rewards confidence more than desperation. You will understand why withdrawing your energy is not revenge, but wisdom. Most importantly, you will see how protecting your self-respect changes the way people respond to you. By the end of this journey, you may never look at rejection the same way again, because the real victory was never making someone choose you. The real victory is becoming someone who never needs to beg to be chosen. The first lesson begins with a truth that many people spend years avoiding. Attention is an investment, and every investment reveals priorities. People always find time for what truly matters to them. They may be busy, tired, stressed, or distracted, but when something holds real value in their eyes, they make room for it. This does not mean they spend every minute with it. It means they protect its place in their lives. Many people create endless excuses for someone who gives them almost nothing. They say he is overwhelmed with work. They say he is confused. They say he is not good at expressing emotions. Sometimes these things are true, but there is a dangerous difference between understanding someone and creating stories that protect you from reality. Wisdom begins when you stop listening only to words and start watching consistent actions. Machiavelli believed that appearances often hide true intentions. A clever person does not judge promises. They judge patterns. Anyone can speak beautifully for 5 minutes. Very few people can show steady effort for months. When someone's actions become smaller, while your efforts become greater, balance disappears. And once balance disappears, respect slowly follows it. Think about how negotiations work in business. If one side keeps giving away more without receiving anything in return, the other side quickly accepts that as the new normal. Human relationships can fall into the same pattern. If you always forgive, always initiate, always chase, and always wait, Your effort slowly becomes expected instead of appreciated. What once looked like kindness begins to look like endless availability. This does not mean you should become cold or heartless. It means your generosity must have wisdom. Kindness without boundaries becomes permission for others to take without giving. Respect grows where limits exist. Even nature teaches this lesson. The strongest trees survive storms not because they bend forever, but because their roots know where to stop bending. The greatest mistake is believing that more effort automatically creates more love. Often it creates the opposite. When someone never fears losing your presence, they stop recognizing its value. Not because they are evil, but because human beings naturally adapt to what becomes constant. Appreciation fades when effort disappears. This is why your first responsibility is never convincing someone to invest in you. Your first responsibility is protecting your own value. A person who values themselves does not measure their worth by someone else's attention. They measure it by their own standards, discipline, and peace. And that inner stability changes every relationship they enter, because people can sense when someone refuses to abandon themselves for approval. Distance is not always a sign of loss. Sometimes it is the only way to reveal the truth. When you stop chasing someone who has stopped investing, you remove the noise from the relationship. No more constant messages. No more excuses. No more attempts to keep the connection alive by yourself. What remains is simple reality. If they care, they will move closer. If they do not, they will continue walking away. Either answer gives you clarity, and clarity is always more valuable than false hope. Machiavelli understood that people often reveal their intentions when they are no longer being pushed. Imagine a river flowing downhill. It does not need to be forced. It follows its natural direction. Human interest behaves in much the same way. Genuine desire moves on its own. It does not need endless reminders. It does not need pressure. If every conversation depends on you beginning it, if every meeting depends on you arranging it, and if every emotional moment depends on you saving it, then you are carrying a relationship that should be standing on two people, not one. Many people fear silence because silence removes illusion. As long as you keep reaching out, you can tell yourself that things are improving. You can believe that tomorrow will be different. But the moment you become quiet, reality speaks. Their actions become impossible to ignore. This is why silence feels painful. It forces you to see what words have been hiding. There is another reason chasing becomes dangerous. Every time you ignore your own instincts to earn someone's attention, you slowly train yourself to accept less than you deserve. At first, it seems like a small sacrifice. You overlook a delayed reply. Then you ignore canceled plans. Then you excuse disrespect. Before long, your standards have fallen so low that you begin celebrating the smallest amount of effort, even when it should have been normal from the beginning. Machiavelli believed that power belongs to those who understand value. If you treat your own time as cheap, others often do the same. If you give endless attention without expecting mutual effort, people learn that your presence has no conditions. They assume you will remain available no matter how they behave. This is not because they plan to take advantage of you. It is because people naturally adjust to the standards that you accept. Think about a precious jewel. If it were lying on every street corner, people would walk past it without a second glance. Its rarity creates its importance. Your attention works the same way. When it is given with purpose, it becomes meaningful. When it is handed out without limits, it loses the respect it deserves. This is why emotionally strong people do not rush to prove themselves. They understand that value is demonstrated through consistency, not desperation. They remain kind, but they do not become servants of someone else's emotions. They remain open, but they do not abandon their dignity just to avoid loneliness. Loneliness frightens many people into making terrible decisions. They would rather stay in an unbalanced relationship than face a quiet evening alone. Yet loneliness is temporary. Losing your self-respect can stay with you for years. Every time you ignore your own boundaries, you weaken the trust you have in yourself. Eventually, the greatest disappointment is not that someone failed to choose you. It is that you failed to choose yourself. Notice how confident people respond when interest is not returned. They do not beg. They do not argue. They do not launch long emotional speeches trying to change someone's mind. They accept the information they have been given and continue building their own lives. This does not mean they feel no pain. It means they refuse to let pain decide their actions. Machiavelli would remind you that emotions are powerful servants, but dangerous masters. When emotion controls judgment, people reveal their weaknesses without realizing it. They send messages they later regret. They apologize for mistakes they never made. They offer more time, more energy, and more affection to someone who has already shown little interest in giving the same. In trying to avoid losing another person, they end up losing themselves. True strength appears when you separate emotion from action. You may miss someone deeply, but you do not let missing them control your behavior. You may feel disappointed, but disappointment does not force you to abandon your standards. This discipline creates something rare. It creates emotional independence. Emotional independence does not mean refusing love. It means refusing dependence. Love should enrich your life, not become the only reason you feel valuable. When your identity depends on another person's approval, they unknowingly gain control over your peace. Every compliment lifts you. Every moment of silence breaks you. Your emotional world begins revolving around choices you cannot control. A wise person refuses to hand over that power. They recognize that self-worth must come from within. Skills can grow. Character can grow. Wisdom can grow. Confidence can grow. These are investments that no rejection can steal. When you build your life around these foundations, relationships become additions rather than necessities. There is another hidden advantage to stepping back. It allows people to experience the absence of your presence. Many individuals never realize someone's value because they have never had the chance to miss it. Constant availability removes appreciation. Space creates perspective. This does not mean you withdraw as a game or a manipulation. Machiavelli respected strategy, but he also respected reality. You step back because your dignity matters, not because you are trying to trigger someone's emotions. Ironically, people often become more curious about those who are peacefully moving forward. Confidence attracts attention because it communicates abundance. Desperation repels attention because it communicates fear. Without saying a single word, your actions reveal which mindset you have chosen. Imagine two travelers standing before a closed gate. One spends all day knocking, begging, and demanding to be let inside. The other looks at the gate once, realizes it is closed, and calmly walks toward another road. Which traveler appears stronger? Which traveler seems more valuable? The answer has nothing to do with the gate. It has everything to do with self-respect. Life offers countless opportunities, yet many people spend years standing outside one locked door. They believe happiness exists only behind that entrance. They ignore the roads, the landscapes, and the possibilities waiting elsewhere. Their world becomes smaller because their focus becomes narrower. Machiavelli would call this a failure of vision. The person who sees only one path becomes easy to control. The person who knows there are many paths cannot be trapped by a single rejection. This mindset changes everything. Instead of asking, "How do I make him invest in me?" you begin asking, "Is this someone worthy of my investment?" That single question shifts the balance of power. Suddenly, you are no longer seeking approval. You are evaluating character. And that is exactly where true influence begins. Not by convincing someone to recognize your value, but by refusing to waste your value where it is not recognized. It is the understanding that your greatest advantage is not making someone regret losing you. Your greatest advantage is becoming so focused on your own growth that whether they return or not no longer decides your happiness. This is the point where real freedom begins. Machiavelli knew that the strongest position in any relationship belongs to the person who can walk away without abandoning their principles. Notice that this is different from walking away out of anger. Anger still gives the other person power because your actions are controlled by them. Calm detachment is different. It says, "I know my value, and I refuse to negotiate against it." That quiet confidence is far more powerful than any dramatic goodbye. Many people secretly hope that by disappearing, the other person will finally come back. Sometimes they do, sometimes they do not. But if your only reason for stepping away is to make someone chase you, then you are still emotionally dependent on their response. You have changed your strategy, but not your mindset. True strength appears when your decision is based on self-respect rather than expectation. Ask yourself one simple question. If this person never changes, never apologizes, and never invests more than they do today, would you still choose this relationship 5 years from now? Most people avoid this question because they already know the answer. They are not holding on to reality. They are holding on to potential. They love the person they hope someone will become, not the person standing in front of them. Machiavelli warned against confusing appearance with truth. Hope is valuable when it inspires action, but dangerous when it blinds judgment. Every year, countless people remain trapped in relationships that exist only in their imagination. They wait for promises to become habits. They wait for excuses to become effort. They wait for words to become actions. While they wait, life quietly moves forward without them. Time is your most valuable resource. Money can be earned again. Opportunities can return. Even broken confidence can be rebuilt. But the years spent begging for attention from the wrong person can never be recovered. Every day invested in someone who repeatedly refuses to invest back is a day taken away from building the life you deserve. Think about the greatest leaders, thinkers, and builders throughout history. They were respected not because everyone accepted them, but because they refused to compromise their purpose for temporary approval. Their energy was directed toward growth, discipline, and creation. They understood that success attracts people far more naturally than desperation ever could. The same principle applies to your personal life. Instead of asking why someone is not choosing you, ask how you can become a stronger version of yourself. Improve your health. Learn new skills. Build meaningful friendships. Strengthen your finances. Read more. Travel if you can. Create something valuable. Every step you take toward your own development reduces your dependence on external validation. This transformation changes your relationships in unexpected ways. You stop fearing rejection because rejection no longer defines your identity. You stop overthinking every message because your life is no longer waiting around a phone screen. You stop forcing conversations because you realize that genuine interest never needs to be dragged into existence. Ironically, this is often when people begin noticing you differently. Confidence that comes from real growth cannot be faked. It is visible in the way you speak, the way you listen, and the way you carry yourself. You become calmer because your happiness is no longer fragile. You become more attractive because you are no longer trying to convince anyone of your worth. But remember one important truth. Do not confuse attention with respect. Someone may return simply because they are lonely, curious, or afraid of losing access to you. That does not automatically mean they have changed. Machiavelli would tell you to observe actions over time, not emotional moments. A single apology proves very little. Consistent effort proves everything. If someone truly wishes to rebuild a relationship, they will show it through reliable behavior, honest communication, and mutual investment. They will not expect you to carry all the emotional weight again. Healthy relationships are built through shared responsibility, not one person constantly repairing what two people continue breaking. There is a powerful difference between forgiveness and permission. Forgiveness frees your heart from bitterness. Permission allows harmful patterns to continue. Wise people forgive when necessary, but they do not repeatedly reward disrespect with unlimited access to their lives. They understand that compassion without standards becomes self-destruction. Imagine a king guarding his kingdom. He does not leave the gates open for every stranger simply because he wishes to appear kind. He welcomes those who arrive with respect and good intentions. He protects the kingdom from those who repeatedly prove they cannot be trusted. Your mind deserves the same protection. Your heart deserves the same wisdom. Many people believe confidence means never feeling pain. That is not true. Even the strongest person experiences disappointment. The difference is that they do not build a home inside their disappointment. They allow themselves to grieve, to learn, and then to continue moving forward. They understand that pain is temporary, but surrendering their dignity creates wounds that last much longer. Machiavelli's greatest lesson was never about controlling others. It was about mastering yourself. The person who controls their emotions cannot be easily manipulated. The person who knows their value cannot be easily bought with empty promises. The person who accepts reality instead of fantasy cannot be trapped by false hope. So when a man is no longer investing in you, resist the instinct to chase harder. Resist the temptation to explain yourself one more time. Resist the belief that sacrificing your dignity will somehow create love. Instead, become still. Observe. Accept what actions are revealing. Then invest your energy where it has the greatest return into yourself. Because the truth is simple. The right people never need to be convinced to value what is genuinely valuable. They recognize consistency. They respect self-respect. They appreciate someone who knows when to give and when to walk away. And if someone cannot see your worth after you have shown up with honesty, character, and genuine effort, then their blindness is not your responsibility. Never measure your value by the attention of someone who refuses to invest in you. Measure it by the life you build, the discipline you keep, and the peace you protect. Those are treasures no rejection can take away. In the end, the greatest victory is not hearing someone say, "I finally realize your value." The greatest victory is reaching a point where you quietly smile and realize you no longer need them to say it. If this message helped you see your worth more clearly, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more timeless wisdom, and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Leave a comment below and tell us, what is the biggest mistake people make when someone stops investing in them? Your thoughts may inspire someone else's journey. Until next time, protect your peace, guard your value, and never trade your self-respect for anyone's attention.